Then I was given a measuring rod like a staff, and I was told, "Rise and measure the temple of God and the altar and those who worship there. But do not measure the court outside the temple. Leave that out, for it is given over to the nations, and they will trample the holy city for 42 months." The word rendered rise in Revelation 11:1 is found 144 times in the King James New Testament, but just this once in Revelation. Interesting, for I believe the 24 elders, indicative of priesthood, are also symbolized by the 144,000 in Revelation chapters 7 and 14. How do I make this connection? Because 144,000 is 12 times 12 times 1,000, or two 12s denote a double witness of divine government, and 1,000 denotes the day of the Lord. Those who rule and reign with Christ are the priesthood of Christ. They are the firstfruits to God and to the Lamb. Why two 12s? Because the government of God consists of the two covenants, the law and its spiritual essence, which is love. First, the letter of the law, followed by the spirit of it. John is told to rise, to ascend higher in spirit in order to measure the temple of God, more specifically the golden altar before the most holy place or throne of God and those who worship there. When something is measured, it is given a number. So regarding the 144,000 in Revelation 7:4, John declares, "I heard the number of those who were sealed." Measuring goes hand in hand with judgment, whereas Jesus said, "For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged, and with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you." Judge simply means to make a determination, while measure is the means or criterion by which you make that determination. This is why Jesus said, "Judge not, that you be not judged." Far too often, our measure is quite selfish, laced with carnality. Jesus said, "You judge according to the flesh. I judge no one. And yet, if I do judge, my judgment is true, for I am not alone, but I am with the Father who sent me." How could Jesus say he judged no one, and yet if I do judge? Because when he judged, his measure was God's wisdom, not his own. So God was the one judging. The same rings true today. What was John told to measure? The temple of God. Court outside the temple, leave that out, for it is given over to the nations to be trampled. I disagree with John 16:33. Is there a difference between the temple of God and the outer court? There is. The tabernacle in the wilderness that God instructed Moses and Israel to build consisted of three different areas: the outer court, surrounding the temple of God, which had two rooms, the holy place and the most holy place. Note the following illustrations, where the first shows an idea of how it might have appeared outwardly, and the second, a simple schematic of the tabernacle. As seen in the schematic, I've labeled the diagram with what I believe is the spiritual equivalent of the material construction and its components, individually and collectively speaking. Collectively, the outer court represents the called, and individually, the soul. The temple of God, consisting of the holy place and the most holy place, represent the chosen and faithful in the mind and spirit, respectively. The golden altar of incense is just before the veil or entrance leading into the most holy place where the Ark of the Covenant is found. Here's a portion from Kevin J. Connor's book, The Tabernacle of Moses. There were two altars in the Tabernacle of Moses, the brazen altar and the golden altar. The brazen altar was for the burnt offering and was located in the outer court at the door of the tabernacle. The golden altar was for burning of incense and was positioned in the holy place before the veil. The golden altar was for the burning of incense unto the Lord. Incense always speaks to us of the prayers and intercession of the saints, which ascend unto God. Incense begins on the altar with man, and as it burns, it ascends upward to God. Likewise, Our prayers begin in the heart of man and ascend heavenward unto God. As one might guess, there are two ways to consider Revelation 11:1 and 2, again, either individually or collectively. Now, here's the thing. John is not told to judge the temple, but to measure it. Why? Because the temple of God sets the standard by which the entire house of God is judged. For this reason, Paul declares the following: According to the grace of God which was given to me, as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another builds on it. But let each one take heed how he builds on it. For no other foundation can anyone lay than that which is laid, which is Jesus Christ. Now, if anyone builds on this foundation with gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, straw, each one's work will become clear, for the day will declare it, because it will be revealed by fire. And the fire will test each one's work of what sort it is. If anyone's work which he has built on it endures, he will receive a reward. If anyone's work is burned, he will suffer loss. But he himself will be saved, yet so as through fire. Do you not know that you are the temple of God, and that the Spirit of God dwells in you? If anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him. For the temple of God is holy, which temple you are. Here we are, my friend. We build on the foundation of Jesus Christ. Our works either gold, silver, precious stones purified by his fire, or wood, hay, straw consumed by his fire. And how does Paul say it? The day will declare it. Is this the day when the Son of Man is revealed? Yes. And its fire tests each one's work of what sort it is. Why? Because we are the temple of God, setting the standard by which the entire house of God and the world are judged. So for this reason, Paul makes no apology when saying, if anyone defiles the temple of God, God will destroy him. Didn't Jesus say that we are the salt of the earth? But when it loses its taste, as Lot's wife did, it is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. Is this why the outer court or soul is given over to the nations to be trampled? John indeed measured the temple of God, for it denotes the fifth seal and those under the altar who first gave their lives for the gospel of Christ. They are the 144,000 who are sealed in Revelation chapter 7 and standing on Mount Zion with the Lamb in Revelation chapter 14. Those whom Jesus said would sit on 12 thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. I emphasize, the temple of God sets the measure or standard by which the world is judged. Jesus came to his own. They had desecrated this temple by their pride and traditions, so much so that Jesus called them sons of the devil, fully functioning by a haughty spirit and carnal mind. Has the same thing happened to us today? I believe it has. This brings us to the following. Now the Passover of the Jews was at hand, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem, and he found in the temple those who sold oxen and sheep and doves, and the money changers doing business. When he had made a whip of cords, he drove them all out of the temple, the sheep and the oxen, poured out the changers' money, and overturned the tables. He said to those who sold doves, "Take these things away. Do not make my Father's house a house of merchandise." Then his disciples remembered that it was written, "Zeal for your house has eaten me up." So the Jews answered and said to him, "What sign do you show to us since you do these things?" Jesus answered and said to them, "Destroy this temple, and in 3 days I will raise it up." Then the Jews said, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and will you raise it up in 3 days?" But he was speaking of the temple of his body. There are several important things to consider in these passages, so I will close, pick up from here in the next study. Until then, may God bless you in your walk with Him. And thank you for being a part of Grain of Wheat Publishing.